Welcome back in, everybody, to the No Name Show here, broadcasting live on Vocal. And I got to tell you, for whatever reason, for multiple weeks in a row, we've had problems at the startup. The cat, man. Ali, you are the problem. Ali comes in here. I've told you before, hashtag no name, KNOWNAME is the way to get in touch with us here on the program. But I've told you about Ali before. He is a cat that just drives you crazy. A good cat. I'm not a big cat person, but because I have a cat, I guess that technically makes me a cat person to some degree. And Ali, loyal to the core. But when it comes to getting around the electronic equipment, when it comes to getting on the mixing board over here, Ali is your worst enemy. And no matter what you do, he'll click a button, he'll slide a slider down to the point that it goes into queue. Who knows? Just drives you a little bit batty every once in a while. Anyway, welcome into the No Name Show here on Vocal. Once again, as always, we appreciate you being here with us each and every Sunday. Of course, this Wednesday evening, we'll be talking about the Clemson Tigers as my more popular programs, TigerNet Talk and Clemson Hotline, hit the airwaves here on Vocal. But before we can get there, we're going to spend about 35 or 40 minutes, I guess, with you all this evening. It's always fun to spend some time with everybody and just talk about things that are important to us here on the program. We're going to get into a number of different things. Breaking news, though, the biggest news of all. As I mentioned to you last week as we came on the show, I said, guys, it could be at any moment. At any moment, my wife could have walked through that door and drugged me out of the studio to head to the hospital. And as I told you before, breaking news, we have gotten our new baby here. Finally, baby number 2 arrived. First little girl. Proud papa here. But I've got to do the show, so I'll step away from the diapers and the cuddling, I guess, for a moment. 10 pounds, 3 ounces, perfectly healthy little girl, 22 and a fourth inches long. I couldn't be prouder. It's a great feeling being a father. Those of you that have had the opportunity to experience that, you know how special it is. Others of you might think that perhaps I was
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
a little bit emotional to have a little girl for the first time. Wife's good, baby's good. 3-year-old son adjusting. I believe he's probably more of the basket case of emotion, to be honest with you. Kind of figuring out what to do with a 3-year-old, and it's an adjustment period for sure. Topics on the program: Penn State, Adam Scott's collapse over in Britain, and the horrible, tragic incident that occurred out in Colorado. Ugly scenario there. I hope you'll participate with us here on the program. Hashtag TN Talk. What am I telling you? Hashtag no name. Don't TN Talk. Everything's on the screen right here. And I went with this new transparent look, a little transparent overlay. I hope you like it. Hashtag TN Talk. That's if you want to talk sports on Wednesday night. But the rest of the summer, Sunday night, reserved for the No Name Show. That could switch. The No Name Show, as I've always told you, is just a branch off of what we've done here in the past. It's another little show. It's a little bit different, a little, more of a chance for me to maybe let loose a little bit. An opportunity for me to give you some sort of entertainment value outside of the sporting realm.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, as always, this stuff in lieu of actual entertainment.
Exactly. Thank you, David Letterman. That's exactly right. This in lieu of actual entertainment and content knowledge. This is about you, not me. 450-0086. That's 803-450-0086. That gives us a call right here in studio. And the phone lines are open, waiting on your calls. Hashtag no name. Follow us on Twitter. We're at ELSWANN. You can also call the number that's on the screen in the overlay there. That number gets you live into the studio. The other number is the 24-hour-a-day number. And you can go to youtube.com/lswanmedia to see all of our high-quality recorded editions of our programs. And I got to tell you, it's been pretty neat kind of building this up weekly, getting together with you guys, spending an hour, 30 minutes, whatever it takes, just talking about whatever. But we start with Penn State. And obviously on Monday, that's tomorrow, the NCAA is going to be levying some sort of punishment on the Nittany Lions and on the legacy of Joe Paterno. A legacy that I think up until all of the issues and information came out about the Jerry Sandusky situation, which people felt like was one that probably would never be tarnished. Joe Paterno had run a very clean program on the field. Joe Paterno had never been involved in any significant scandals throughout his tenure at Penn State. He was the winningest active coach in the history of college football. A living legend. A man who many people thought would coach until the day he died. And as quickly as he passed away after the incident and after his dismissal as the head coach at Penn State, you would have to believe that coaching kept this man alive. Without coaching, he, is a dead man, basically. And sadly enough, that turned out to be the fact. It didn't take very long, and Joe Paterno was gone. And the odd thing about all of this, and it doesn't really matter what sanctions come down on Penn State at this point for people out there, there's a famous line in A Few Good Men that I think really speaks to exactly what Joe Paterno and the reason that Joe Paterno is going to be hammered to some degree is the line in A Few Good Men when I can't remember the names of all the people, but one of the soldiers says that you have to protect those who can't protect themselves. And the guy is saying, I think it's the two soldiers are standing there, and he says, what did we do wrong? And the other soldier looks at him and says, we didn't protect Willie. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. As soldiers, our job was to protect them. And as the head coach of Penn State and a man who had given millions of dollars to the university, Joe Paterno's job was not to protect the image of Penn State. That was not what his calling was to do as the head coach. Joe Paterno should have taken it on himself to do more to protect those young men. To do more to protect those, not even young men, those boys. Those kids. And instead, Paterno, the athletic director, the president of the university, protected the image of Penn State. And that's what's sad about this. And that's what makes this one of the worst things I've ever heard of. Because at the end of the day, and this is something that Joe Paterno's family can't understand, because
You can't handle the truth.
they can't handle the fact that their father, a living legend, a man whose name, if you try to besmirch it in certain areas of Pennsylvania, You're lucky if they don't drag you out of the building that you're in and tear you apart. But that man, in trying to protect Penn State University, in whatever warped world he was living in his head, he single-handedly is going to have the greatest downfall in the history of college football as far as legacies go. And you could say, well, that didn't have anything to do with what was on the field. You could say that. But you cannot in any way protect the university and protect your image over those kids. And that's why Joe Paterno has such a significant fall coming. Got a couple of people with us here. In Rosario, 2000 on Twitter, follow him, wants to know if I like pop music. This mouse, I told you about this mouse last week. I'm still adjusting. New mouse. This mouse is not the best mouse I've ever had. This mouse is a little bit off.
You are an idiot wrapped in a moron.
Stop with that. You people always coming in here saying that. I don't really like pop music. Let's see what's number one on the pop charts. The Billboard Hot 100. Still Carly Rae Jepsen. Oh, Carly Rae. I can't believe Carly Rae is still on top. Let's see. She's jamming, right?
I threw a wish in the well. Don't ask me, I'll never tell. I look to you as a
Call Me Maybe. That's right. That's the number one song in the country. Carly Rae Jepsen. Not a huge fan. This is crazy. Yeah, you go, girl. Anyway, back to serious matters, and I appreciate everybody who's in here with us. Continue to chat, ask us questions, we'll answer them. But Joe Paterno, the odd thing about it is trying to protect the university, trying to protect his legacy while alive is going to be ultimately tarnished like no other head coach in the history of college football, maybe no other coach in the history of sports. It wouldn't surprise me if what we hear tomorrow is that every win is stripped from Joe Paterno during the tenure or the time frame that everyone knew about these incidents that occurred on the campuses of Penn State, in the locker rooms of the football team. And Joe Paterno is not going to be there to defend himself. And it's probably good. It's probably best, because I can only imagine how embarrassing it would become if Joe Paterno did get up in front of people, if Joe Paterno was alive, how sad it would be if he got up there in front of everybody, in front of the world, and, really tried to defend himself, because it's indefensible and it would be embarrassing. What YouTuber would you date? Myself. Can I do that? Can I date myself? YouTube.com/ElSwanMedia. ElSwan Media. That's where you want to be. ELSWANN Media. All one word. That's where you get the backlogged editions of this program and others. Stick around, though. Don't go anywhere. Do you like golf? Maybe not, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. Plus, the tragic shootings out in Colorado. I mean, sad stuff there. I don't even know how you put your arms around it. This is the No Name Show. We're a weekly smorgasbord of programming for you. Every Sunday night, 10 o'clock here on Vocal. Tune in. Number 3 rated show. We've dropped off from number 2. It's a sad day. We're coming back, though. We'll be back. Stay with us through this break. Edisto Outdoors. Go to edistooutdoors.com. Check out their website and shirts. We'll be right back.
In my head, if I pointed it just...
Hate the thought of shopping? All that hassle and can't find what you're looking for anyway? We understand. Retail stores make it difficult. Instead, try www.edistooutdoors.com. Edisto Outdoors features performance apparel and gear engineered for performance, comfort, and style. EdistoOutdoors.com. You'll enjoy the shopping and you'll enjoy the products. Great products from people who care.
Talk about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Congratulations to Adam Scott, as you, sir, pulled off another unbelievable tank job over in England, over in Great Britain, I should say. Looking up some stuff, there had a text message come in. Here's the deal. When you have a multiple stroke lead in a major, I think most people in the world would say that the most important golf tournament to win is the Masters played in Augusta, Georgia. Just because of the history, the tradition, the fact that it doesn't move venues. And that really adds to the special nature of the Masters. But when you have an opportunity to close out in a major, for your first major, and most of America has turned the match off because it's over with. Adam Scott is walking away. I mean, this is the Indianapolis 500, and you've got a lap lead coming into the final lap. And Adam Scott just falls completely apart. The kid looked steady all day long, and the more shots he took, I realized that had Adam Scott actually taken his hands off of his throat and put them back on his clubs, he would have had a much better ending to that golf tournament. Instead, Ernie Els, somehow, some way, steady, I would say Steady Eddie, but his name is Ernie. And Sterny Ernie just doesn't work. But Steady Ernie continued to play, continued to go at it. Birdie on the 18th. Adam Scott, bogey, 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 bogey. Bogeys his way down the stretch and gives up on a major.
Well, that's the dumbest thing I've heard of.
Well, we've seen it before, though. We've seen it before, especially over in England. For whatever reason, when you get over to Europe, when you get over there and you start hacking around at the British Open, where you're playing in some of the worst bunkers that anybody's ever seen, today's blow-up was as impressive as, what was the Vander... I can't remember. Somebody's going to have to remind me the name. There was a major meltdown over in the mid to late 80s. Mid to late 90s, and everybody, I know if I Google it, I can find it real quick. Meltdown, British Open. Come on, folks, you know this. This is so much fun. 1999 British Open meltdown. Who was that? Van de Velds. Almost call him Van de Sloot. Van de Sloot, of course. Yeah, you know Jorn Van der Sloot. Murderer. You know that guy? Yeah. Anyway, we're looking for some people here to participate with us in the chat room. A couple of spectators, a couple of participators. This show, you're probably looking at you saying, Swanee, how are you the number 3 rated broadcaster? How can your show, you've got a couple of people in here. I told you, they come in the tens and fours to see this show, not many. And it's because our other show has hundreds of viewers. Hundreds, sometimes 200 viewers or more during an episode. This one, not so popular. And I think I'm a funny guy.
I've been wanting to talk to you about something.
You absolutely cannot fall apart and consider yourself a professional golfer in that scenario. It's an easy closeout. That's going to go down as one of the worst golf choke jobs, collapses, meltdowns, whatever you want to call it, in the history of golf. I'd love to show you Jean Van de Velde's collapse back in 1999. That was a beautiful thing, and probably worse than what happened to Adam Scott. Because Vanderbilt had every opportunity, much like Tiger Woods did in the final round over at the British Open earlier today, Sunday. Tiger Woods had a real shot to get back in the mix. Instead, he takes a triple bogey sixth, played one off his knees. That's fitting, Tiger. That's fitting. I mean, when Tiger tried to hit the first one out of the bunker, and the bunkers over in Europe are crazy. They're like, it looks like some kind of mortar has gone off from World War II, which perhaps, maybe that's what these things are. You know, maybe some of these, I think I've actually heard that some of these bunkers are from like when the Germans were dropping bombs on England. But Tiger Woods is in there. He hits his first shot, dinks it off at the front of the trap. And then these bunkers, they look like they've been built by human beings. Remember the doozers on Fraggle Rock? That's what it reminds me of. The doozers on Fraggle Rock.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You got to be from the 80s to understand that. The doozers were these creatures that lived in Fraggle Rock that looked really cute in some kind of crazy way. And the doozers would build these structures that looked like they were made of sugar, and then the Fraggles would actually go and eat them. I'm going to see if I can pull up a picture here of a doozer for you. I mean, because a doozer is a very... There. Here you go, people. You want to see a doozer? That, my friends, is a doozer. Cute, right? In a doozer kind of way. Are those earrings? Is that doozer wearing earrings? Okay. If you saw, that's a little bit awkward. Let's see if we can find you another picture of a doozer. Maybe I can show you a picture of a doozer in one of their doozer-like structures. Okay, here's another doozer for you. And how I got on Fraggle Rock, you'll never know. I'll never know. Just one of those kind of weird occurrences. All right, so here is another doozer. I don't want picture in the picture. I just want doozers. There you go. And see the structure? The Fraggles would eat that. The Fraggles would eat the doozer structures. Totally strange. But that's what it looked like. These things are built. These sand traps are built. Don't leave us. Hang with us. I'm going to answer your questions. Ask us a question. We take your phone calls as well. Number on the screen works. You give us a call. We'll buzz you through. We'll take it. We take video chats. We'll do it all. I mean, we do this a little bit differently because, okay, my impression of some of the other people's shows here on Vocal would go a little something like this. Elias, I love Vocal. It's unbelievable. It's great. I mean, it's a good way to communicate. But here's how other people's shows on Vocal look like. Yeah, so... Okay, that's not what we are. We come in with a topic, a plan, a layout. We're trying to do this real big. We're not trying to be, some Rudy Poo at the back of the line. To catch Reality Steve, to catch a guy like Jack Douglas who has over 19 million Facebook views on just one of his videos, you know how hard that's going to be for the regular guy? Just, I can't be, look, obviously, I got a face for radio, so Vocal doesn't help me out in that category. These guys, they go off the edge on all this stuff, and they have good shows. I mean, they do great work, I think. The real major players on Vocal. But I try to get into these other rooms and go see people. Go see what they're doing. Elias, do you have a show, Elias? If Elias has a show, let us know. Anyway, we'll put you a plug out there. Okay. Big Daddy-O. Let's see. What's Elias? What are you rocking there, Elias? Am I saying your name right, first off? I think I've seen you before on here. I kind of keep up with who's in the... There you are. Oh, yeah, you're the one. Yeah, I knew you. I recognize you there, Chief. You don't have one of those shows, do you? I mean, are you one of the guys who gets on here and you're sitting there and for some reason you got 42 people watching you, but half of them are going, boring. Homer, when you say something in my show, speak up. Boring. Thank you, Homer. You know, I come in here with a little a menu. You know, I try to present the menu at the beginning of the show, and we roll on through it. You know, because I've done radio. Vocal just gives me an opportunity to do a little bit of video as well. And when I get to do my sports talk programming, that's when everybody comes in. You know, but now I'm getting into this YouTube stuff because apparently that's an extra way I can make money other than selling the show. There you go. This guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's a ticket.
That guy, Elias, the man. I'm checking out his show this week, I guarantee you. When are you on? We're going to plug it. That's the other thing I like to do here on my show. I like to give plugs to other people who are doing good stuff. Now, for all I know, his stuff could be no good, but he says it is. I'm going to watch it. Next week we'll report. Next week we'll break that news. Yeah, I don't get into anime. You know, I mean, when I was a kid, you know, we didn't have a whole lot of TV channels and stuff, to be honest. I think my first TV had like 13 channels. When Nickelodeon came around, and man, we got to watch Pinwheel. Dude, Pinwheel? What? I thought, you know, all we had before Pinwheel was Sesame Street. Yeah, it got kind of old. You guys, Pinwheel was a program. It was like out of not England. It was out of Canada. And the odd thing about Pinwheel was it had puppets and people together. Kind of creepy in some ways. Here's what we'll do for you. Because I'm such a nice guy. Because, you know, when I do a show, I like to bring you the heat. I don't like to, you know, take away from what you can enjoy. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll the Pinwheel credits for you. Because I got that ability. I mean, I am the guy who can bring you that if you want it. Let's see if we can get this done right. Here we go. Hopefully, not that. Why are you looking at draft numbers? That's old news. Here's what we want. We want this right here. The opening credits for all you youngsters to Pinwheel, the show that single-handedly made my days when I was a young man. Let's put it in the right-hand corner like a professional gig. Oh, and get over there. There. Pinwheel's opening credits. '80s. Forget Mr. Rogers. Forget Big Bird. Creepy, right? That's the Admiral Bird. They were always on the lookout for the Admiral Bird. That's Silas the Snail, plus and minus right there. They always played Gotcha Last. Molly the Mole. He was a reporter. All right, now, tell you about this guy. Let me pause it right here. Okay. You see the guy in green here with the, can you see my mouse? Maybe not. African-American gentleman, right in the middle. This guy's name was Jake. And Jake had sound boxes. And they were really weird. Let's finish this up, though. Oh, that's creepy. All right, now, in addition to that, Pinwheel had these little silly interludes in the middle with, like, fruit spinning around and peeling itself. Yeah, you've never seen anything like that before. You haven't lived. Elias says, yeah, my viewers seem to actually really like my shows. I'm mainly on YouTube, though. But this gives me a chance to talk with my viewers and answer questions. Yeah. See, I came the other route. I came from the sports venue and doing some radio stuff and realizing, hey, there's a market. Oh, now that is a weird market. Dual cameras. You know, I like Webcam Max, except for when it's, you know, doesn't give me the, there, much better. Anyway, do I like to talk in public? You know what? I'm gonna I'm going to take this show public. This coming Sunday, 10 p.m. on the mean streets of Aspen, Colorado. No, I like to talk in public okay. So, Elias, what do you do on YouTube? I guess I could YouTube one of your videos and see. I mean, do you just put together like silly, I know you're not the fruit guy because apparently he's on here. Let's see what Elias does. His day alone. I'm not even sure if this is you. Are you Super Elias? Let's see. Maybe you are. Is that Super Elias? Anyway, we'll watch his show. He makes skits and vlogs. Super Elias. Okay, that's him. So he does skits and stuff. Awesome. The Annoying Orange. Yes, the Annoying Orange is on here. When I get angry, I can look a lot like the Annoying Orange. I don't have much hair. I'm very annoying, and I kind of turn orange. A little bit of one of those facts that you may or may not know about me. But again, Adam Scott, British Open, collapse. Thank you very much. Commercial break. Edisto Outdoors. That's our people. Look. If you like hunting, fishing, that kind of stuff, the outdoors life, the beach life, go by edistoutdoors.com. Check out their stuff. And I've got a whole new line of clothing coming out that you are not going to believe. I'm not exactly the fashionista, but wait till that comes out. Stay with us.
Hate the thought of shopping? All that hassle and can't find what you're looking for anyway? We understand. Retail stores make it difficult. Instead, try www.edistooutdoors.com. Edisto Outdoors features performance apparel and gear engineered for performance, comfort, and style. EdistoOutdoors.com. You'll enjoy the shopping and you'll enjoy the products. Great products from people who care.
Georgia, 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 Georgia. We on the grind, Georgia, all the time. It ain't nothing on my mind, but Georgia.
The great Ray Charles and Ludacris. Now, notice I didn't say the great Ludacris. Ludacris is good. Ludacris is good. But Ray Charles, if you haven't seen that movie, again, I know I'm a little bit older than most of the people here. I'm like, in vocal years, I'm like the George Burns of vocal. I'm that much older than everybody else on vocal. I mean, if my friends found out I was on vocal, they'd say,
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
and I'd say, what do you mean, man? I'm down. I'm down.
You borrow my brain for 5 seconds and just be like, dude, can't handle it.
That's what I'd say. That would be my response. Not exactly, Elias. It's kind of a strange conundrum of how we do the show. See, I've got a couple of sports talk shows, Clemson Hotline, TigerNet Talk. Both of those are pretty well affiliated with some Clemson sports programs, which Clemson, for those of you that don't know, plays in the Atlantic Coast Conference, which is not the most significant college football conference. However, Clemson does have a national championship and thrives in the ACC. Didn't thrive so much in the Orange Bowl. Speaking of annoying oranges, the Orange Bowl this year for Clemson was quite annoying as West Virginia continued to pound us right in the face, 70-33. Good gracious. What?
Watch your language in front of the lady, punk!
70-33. That does sound like bad language. Anyway, so I do those shows weekly. I did do 2 hours of sports talk, ACC, SEC. And what I realized is the way I was doing the show is, and I've told this story before because people ask it a lot on here. I did the show from here. I mean, you could see I have a pretty extensive setup. I mean, I've got phone lines, multiple phone lines, big, board. We can pipe in video and audio and do the whole works. 5 monitors of doom. I couldn't even put another monitor in here. If I had another monitor, I don't know what I'd do with it. And so I did the shows, and what we do is we would put them in the can. The segments were, this doesn't really matter to you, I know, 13 minutes, 24 minutes, and a 15:50. That's for an hour-long show. We send those to sports stations. They put in their own breaks, and we could be on, at one time, one of my shows was on about 7 or 8 stations across the South, but sometimes it was played at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes it was played at 10 p.m. at night, depending on when the station wanted to put it in. And so what we would do is every night from 10 to midnight, I would record my program. So if I was doing a show right now on college sports, I would be a little bit in trouble because I don't exactly know what's going to happen at Penn State tomorrow. And if I wanted to talk about it, I see CNN says that Penn State's going to face $30 million in fines. Now, that's all well and good here on this program. I can say that right now. That's what sources are saying, but we all know it's Sunday. Well, in the world I was working in, doing that in addition to my real job, which we won't talk about my real job, but in addition to my real job, this is what I was doing on the side, to make my way, and maybe, who knows, maybe one day Howard Stern's driving through Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and says, oh, I like that guy, let me call him up. You never know. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. So you put your stuff out there and you hope people like it. So we put those shows in the can from 10 to midnight, this 2-hour Southern sports talk show, if you want to call it that, whatever, just focusing on the region that I live in, really. And then we send it out to multiple stations and they play it. Well, I told my producer, I said, look, this is fun. I enjoy it. I know I'm having thousands of people listening. I'm getting phone calls. We've got the voicemail set up so we can play those in and pipe those into the show the next week or the next day, whichever it is. But when you're not doing it live to somebody, there's something that you lose. And if tomorrow they came out and said, what, Penn State's not playing football, and I didn't mention that on my show, I look like a Nimrod. So what I decided to do was, for that matter, I love when I say something like that because some people are probably thinking, you know what, you look like a Nimrod right now.
Will you hush?
Yeah, hush. Don't you come in here to my show calling me a Nimrod. Don't come in. You call me a Nimrod? I don't think so. All right, taking our first question. Ever drank Rolling Rock and ever heard Angry Video Game Nintendo? Have not, and I could probably say to both, really. And if it were ever Rolling Rock, I don't think I would have enjoyed it. Anything in a green, it comes in a green bottle, I don't think so. Nintendo, though. Nintendo, 4th grade, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Hello, King Hippo, man. King Hippo. Woohoo! Let me tell you what, that was something else. Good question. Thanks for submitting it. Appreciate everybody being with us. If you're just a participant or a spectator, click the follow host button. Come on in. Whatever you got to do to come join us. Participate with us. It's pretty fun. So, Elias, what I said was, I can't keep doing this show for thousands of people and have little to no live interaction. No matter what I did, anything that came from somebody else was from a day before where they left a message about the old show. And you just can't continue that way. I'd rather do a show live for one person, and I mean this. I'd rather do a show live for one person than in a can for 1 million. It's great. Look, people that follow my podcasts and stuff, that pick them up, whether it's on Stitcher, Smart Radio, ClemsonPodcast.com, all those sports shows that I do, if people like that, that's great. That's all well and good. And I get emails from people in Afghanistan. I get emails from soldiers in South Korea who that's the only way they can listen to Clemson sports. But what I decided to do was rebrand myself. And why we're talking about that on this show, I don't know, because that's what we want to talk about. And the one thing I decided I want to do with this show, too, is I want to roll where the audience wants to roll. So I've rebranded, and I've recently purchased a new website because I think Clemson Podcasts, Podcasts, because I do multiple podcasts, I don't think to the average listener they say to themselves, well, oh, yeah, that's pretty easy to get, even though everybody has a smartphone. And anybody that doesn't have a smartphone technically probably isn't interested in that kind of stuff anyway, listening to programs on the go like many of you are. But I've rebranded, and I'm working on that right now, getting the new site built and put up. And it's going to be ClemsonSportsTalk.com. That's more comfortable to people. People are like, oh, yeah, you talk sports. You talk Clemson sports. That's more comfortable. That term podcast, Leo Laporte, who, if you don't know Leo, is, I think, well, he's clearly the leader in online entertainment for technology and other things. But Leo Laporte said, a long time ago, he said, podcasting is not the right word. We call it a podcast because of the iPod and the iPad. It's netcasting. And I don't have the overhead that some of these major radio stations have. I don't, and neither do you. Neither does Elias. Nobody in this room has that kind of overhead. But because of that fact, because we don't have that overhead, we're able to do shows about what we want. And for those guys who utilize YouTube, you're able to monetize it to some degree. And it works out great. For somebody that's coming from my side of things, I run ads during my show here. Now, this show I don't run. I just run the Edisto Outdoors ad. I could run more on Lumber Liquidators, DirecTV. I could run those ads, but Amtrak. But those are from my sports show. And technically those people haven't said, hey, would you run our stuff on your program? I don't like to go to a third break here on this program, but I got to. If I don't, I'm going to choke. That's a sad thing. We'll be right back. Woo, nothing to that break. Ooh, I just didn't even roll the Edisto Outdoors commercial. As much as I love it, I didn't even roll it. Just skip right through. Coming back with you. Follow us on Twitter. We're at ELSWA and then at ElSwan. Tweet to us throughout the program, throughout the week. Whenever you find somebody, I'm still looking for somebody to take a picture of a real person using their iPad to videotape somebody in public, because I think that's a little bit kooky to have that big screen out. Hashtag no name. Put it in there, tweet it to us, whatever. But doing it in front of a live audience, doing it in front of people like you guys gives me some interaction. And when it's my Clemson show and there's 150 people or 200 people or whatever the number is, that's fun for me. And I know that people are, talking about it and interacting with us. Pretty awkward question, Rosario. Unfortunately, I can't take it. Sorry, dude. I know. I try to run a fairly clean program as well. That's the other thing. That's the difference in what I'm doing and what everybody else is doing. Not everybody, because I don't want to lump everybody in there, because I'm sure that the lighting essentials show that I see probably steers away from anything like that. And it's a personal preference. I mean, look, I don't have a problem with your question. The thing is that from my side of things, I've got to, because of the way I'm trying to build my brand, I have to be a little bit different, So it's just one of those things. Good question, though. Just can't take it on the air. And I hate doing that to people. Finally, man, how about the horrific shootings out in Colorado? I mean, Colorado, man, gun control laws, you can be for it, you can be against it. Here's the deal. Look, the right to bear arms is clearly, and I may lose some people here, but the right to bear arms is clearly established in the Constitution of the United States of America. I mean, that is your right. That's that is an amendment to the Constitution. That is in the Bill of Rights. The problem is at the time that was written, the weapons that existed were, as far as I'm aware, everything was a manual rifle. Manual. I do not have a problem with a hunter having a shotgun. I don't have a problem with people carrying weapons for protection. But when a person in a matter of months can collect the arsenal that this young man was able to collect in just a few months in our country, in a state where you had the worst high school killing spree in history with assault weapons, that it's that easy still tells me that we've got a long way to go. And we've got something to fix. Assault weapons, and the argument that you're going to get is, well, criminals, they're going to carry them. Those are criminals. If you locks aren't made to keep honest people out, right? If everybody was honest, there would be no locksmiths in our world. There would be no reason to lock anything up. And I understand that I get the theory completely that if you outlawed handguns, these assault weapons, I only want to say handguns, assault weapons, that the bad guys would still have them and having a decided advantage. I don't know if I really go there. If you put a serious penalty on it, and I don't even know all my weapons, AR-15, AK-47, Uzi, whatever. I'm no handgun expert. But I've got to believe, the tragedy at Virginia Tech, I got to think if you curb some of this, you put some significant penalties. I mean, it's already a federal offense and a felony, I believe, to alter the numbers on a gun, the serial numbers on a gun. Then we can at least establish something that's a happy agreement between the National Rifle Association and those of us who want to walk around in a world feeling secure without having to carry a weapon. Glock, semi-automatic, automatic handguns. And what should happen to this guy? Unfortunately, I think he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, I really think this guy is just off his rocker. And sadly enough, in our country, if you're off your rocker like that and you do something crazy like that, and I don't know what the penalties are out in Colorado, but I don't know. Do they have the death penalty? Has anybody read? And what does that solve? It doesn't bring back a single victim. It doesn't change the fact that it can happen again. And that's kind of where my concern lies. If you're going to do something to prevent this from happening in the future, if you're going to make our country a safer place, and you think about a movie theater nowadays. In the old days, if somebody came through the front of the movie theater, I worked in the movie theater. I was a projectionist. That was the best job I ever had in college. Are you kidding me? Except for the fact that I saw Monsters, Inc. about 75 times. Rat Race. Those movies. I mean, except I had to watch the same movies over and over and over. And then there was the fact that once you quit working in the movies, this is another, if you're listening to the program and you're 16 or 17 and you're going, man, my mom said I should get a job this summer, and I think I'm going to go work at the movie theater. Let me give you some of the downfalls. One, you got to work your way up from doing like trash cans and tickets to finally working into the booth where you do popcorn and peanuts and Cracker Jacks or whatever, soda pop, Coca-Cola, whatever. Then you get to projectionist, and that's when the big bucks start rolling in. But you get up to projectionist, and then the problem you have is, because you work at the movies, you can see everything for free. And let's face it, whether you're 16, 46, or 86 and you're working in the movies, it's probably not a long-term agreement. You're probably not hanging around for your retirement. I don't think you're going to come rolling in 30 years down the road, collecting your pension, bringing in some cigars, talking about, guys, it's been great to be here. But I digress. When that window comes when you leave the movie theater, there's about a 3-month span where nothing new comes out that you haven't seen unless you actually go back to the movie theater. And once you've worked at the movie theater, You don't want to go back. I don't even like going now. I see every scratch. I know when the film's in the wrong frame. I know when the cigarette burn comes and when the screen's about to flip and change. I know when to look at when the film is dusty. I know what to look for now. It's the reason that when you finish working on a Photoshop or a video, you know every part where there's a mistake. You can look at it and you say to yourself, oh man, I could have spent a little more time on that edge right there. That transition's a little off. Look at glitches right there. And you show it to Grandma, and Grandma goes, Elias, that's the best. That's the best video anybody's ever made for me. And you're thinking, man, Grandma, you didn't even know that transition messed up. You didn't even have a clue, Grandma. You did, and so just like that, I don't go to the movies anymore. But when I was a projectionist, and when I was a kid and you went to the movies, had a guy busted through the front, with tear gas and guns, everybody could have run out the back. Because movie theaters weren't stadium-style seating. And some still aren't. But now one point that you may not have thought about is that in the stadium-style seating, in order to get out from this numbnut, this numbskull, in order to get out of there, you actually either A, had to jump over and maybe have a 8 to 10 foot drop, or go down towards the guy with the gun. Let's think for a minute. Jump over onto presumably other people who are trying to get out, or go towards the guy with the gun. Now, the method of going towards the guy with the gun went out about 1780, about time the end of the American Revolution. People started to say, you know what, this lining up in the middle of the field and going towards the guy with the gun isn't the smartest move. And sadly, that was your choice. Or play, the thing I'm one of those people always trying to think, what am I going to do? I'm like George Carlin, if you're familiar. George Carlin would say, when he gets on an airplane, he's looking, okay, where's the exits? Okay, how push the nun to the side, step over the kids to get safely off the plane so I can help others. You may know that routine. That's a great little skit. Good satire. When I'm on a plane, I'm looking around the same way. When I'm going to sleep at night in a 2-story house, I'm thinking, okay, I got a wife and kids. Plural. Yeah, you can congratulate me later. Our second child turns 1 week old, 10 pounds, 3 ounces. Way to go, Mom. Mom got the job done. Dads, you don't have a whole lot of say in it. You just kind of stand there and hope. But, we're thankful that everything's going good. But when you have kids and you live in a house, you'll think to yourself, okay, what if I wake up in the middle of the night? Especially when you're the dad. It's kind of your responsibility. The financial burdens fall on you, all that stuff. You think, what would you do? If I wake up and there's a fire, how do I get my kids out? I've already got the escape route planned. And, the thought of if something like that happens, play dead. The guy is not probably shooting people who he thinks are already dead. If you could not cough from the tear gas, maybe you're playing dead. Elias says, well, imagine how many people were petrified. Some of them were probably frozen. Definitely. Dude, and it apparently happened during a quiet scene. Like some people were like, Batman's got a lot of guns and stuff in it, so maybe it happened during a gun scene and people didn't know. That's not what the people who were in there said. They said, it's like Batman and the butler talking in the library, and people are going, shh, don't say anything. So we're in the library. And then tear gas and guns. How will it change theater security? Do you have interest in seeing the show? What will the numbers be this weekend for that? Obviously I was pretty busy with a new kid in the house. I don't have any interest in really seeing that movie, though, at the theater. And who does now? That's the other blemish for movie theaters in general. So many of us have 52. My sister has a 92-inch high-definition projection theater room. This is commonplace in a lot of houses. Are people gonna continue to go? I couldn't blame you if you don't. If you called in the program 803-450-0086 or 662-533-8581, whichever, the one on the screen or the one I just gave you. If you called in and said, "Yo, I am not going to the movies," I would say, I don't blame you. The ticket prices are through the roof. Popcorn and peanut. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Taking a couple of people. Can you imagine, if you had like 5 or 6 kids and you're trying to take the whole family to the movies? You'd be better off going to an NBA basketball game. At least you get 3 or 4 hours of entertainment. You get an hour and a half of a kid's movie. Exactly. In Rosario 2000, follow him on Twitter. Or her, I guess, technically. I'm assuming it's a he, though. That's the funny thing about Twitter. It's kind of a, N could stand for Nancy, or N could stand for Nicholas. Anyway, follow him on Twitter, her on Twitter. They don't go to the movie. It's Nick. Nick says he doesn't go to the movies. I don't blame you, Nick. I wouldn't spend my dimes at the movies either. You probably, for all I know, you probably download your stuff off Pirate Bay. You probably get it on the bootleg. Nick's probably watching versions. Remember when the big thing was for people to carry a camera in? You'd be like, "Shh, kids, I'm filming." Okay, anyway, it's just one of those things you kind of wonder how it's going to change. I mean, it's already possibly affected this new movie that was supposed to come out called Gangster Squad. Because actually in that movie, features some significant actors. Sean Penn, I think maybe William Hurt, or James Brolin. Emma Stone. Apparently in that movie, which is a period gangster piece, they actually bust into a movie theater and shoot people. And so it's got them kind of thinking, do we need to pull that out right now? Is the country too sensitive to that? Okay, let's get this straight, and I'm going to get out of here. So the country is too sensitive now for this movie theater, this movie about people going into a movie in the olden days, during the gangster days, and shooting people up. But yet, we can't even get the gun control laws to protect people from these automatic weapons. Now, what sense does that make? Just chew on that one for a minute. I promise you, as American citizens sitting in a movie theater, you would feel a lot better if the only weapons that somebody could bring into a movie theater by means of the back door are something that, has about 6 or 8 rounds in it, compared to 6,000 rounds or whatever this guy bought and carried in. I mean, it's just one of those things. And you know what else it is, people? It's rolling around 11 o'clock p.m. And as much as I'd love to stick around and chat, and Elias, I'm going to check out your show. Anybody else who's got a program on here, come visit us. This No Name Show on Sundays is wide open. We're probably going to move it, as I told you, once the summer ends, because we'll have to get back to a little bit more sports talk. We're still trying that climb. I got to stay out in front of Elias. My man's probably got a great show, and he's running me down. I'm trying to stay out in front. I'm like, run as fast as I can from Elias. But catching guys like Reality Steve and Jack Douglas, it's been tough. I went from 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2, and I thought I had Steve. I had Reality Steve in my headlights. I was closing in on him. And then wham, Jack Douglas, bam. I'm hypnotized. I hope you guys were too. No Names, come back next week. # No Name. I want to see that person with their iPad. Please, Elias, I'm checking out your show. And Nick, thanks for stopping by. Everybody else, tell your friends, tell your friends' friends. Hey, I'm going to put my DirecTV account up. Maybe we can do that thing and save each other $10 a month off our bill. I don't know. We'll be back next week. No Name Show out.